DivineZ Set 2 released a couple of weeks ago, and we thought that Blangdmire would come in and destroy everything. But last week, just a week after the release of the set, we saw Drajeweled win back-to-back in the same weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 2 different events by the same person. So that already told us, hold on, that is not the meta that you expected it to be. And this weekend, we had WGP Singapore, which saw a lot of surprising decks do really well, which we have to keep in mind was a 9-round 500-person tournament that hit the 500-player capacity and had to turn away people at the door. Japanese Vanguard is very popular in Singapore, and so quite a few players actually went 7-2. There was 3 players that went 7-2 and barely missed top 8 with a particular deck that I think nobody really expected to do that well, and that is Fenelle. That Fenelle from Lyrical Monasterio that plays the trick and treat orders that nobody really saw coming. But now the cat's out the bag as it was featured on stream at WGP Singapore. So we're going to take a look at it here. We don't have the player names, unfortunately, but we do have the player on the left that brought in Fenelle. And we're going to take a look at some of these stream games from this tournament throughout some videos over the coming week. So you can see here, oh, look at this. Examining the Zeta Grand Blue Fantasy bikini sleeves. Of course, everyone loves GBF. These are actually mini size, Vanguard size. I have those. They have them for Jean as well. But the players here are setting up. I think we can probably just like skip a little bit. There we go. We got the fist bomb stand-up Vanguard. Let's get into it and see. So basically, this matchup is between Fenelle and Varga. So Varga, of course, is a mass retire, super aggressive deck that wants to push from the very beginning of the game. Going first especially is very, very strong. And we do see the Varga player actually has Worlds sleeves as well, which means that they're definitely not coming out of nowhere. So Fenelle, what does she even do? We're going to pop up the cards here as I speak for the YouTube people watching. She says on Ride, you look at top 7 for 2 of her trick and treat order and add them to your hand. So we see 1. Okay, just 1 added. That's actually a bit of a low roll because you can play up to 16 of them in the deck, but he discarded 1 for the Ride deck. So at the very least, as long as you have them in the drop, it's fine. So what Fenelle does is that her Ride line searches these orders, and then after she's searched the orders, she will then be able to play up to 3 of them per turn. And the order has an effect that stacks with how much you play it. So the first time you play it, you force your opponent to choose one of their rearguards and bot deck it, but if they don't, you draw a card. So you saw there he used it on that first turn to draw a card already, and also drew a card from going second. He goes for the first swing, we're gonna get that first damage in there as well, and now the Varga player can start to come back with the big aggression here after getting their first 3 energy. So usually what Varga wants to do in turn 2 is you want to trial in your opponent, because you need to get your opponent to 4 damage so Varga's divine skill can proc, and especially against Fenelle, which draws a lot, you're definitely going to need that extra aggression too. So we're going to have to see how this is going to go and what they're going to discard. They dropped a Boulder Axe. We're going to see the drop of the Cycler there, draw an extra card from it, and then of course the Grade 1 is going to come out. Soul Charging a crit, not exactly the best, but that is soul that you can use later down the line. And so here, you already have 2 swings confirmed. I like that. Put the booster behind the Vanguard. 18k call-up usually is a confirmed hit. Calls down the Boulder Axe as well as the Intercept Sealer, the Roxei, the brand new card from DivineZ Set 2. We see the first attack get guarded by the Fenelle player here in order to not take too much damage. You don't want to be at 4 damage before you're on grade 3, of course. So he's thinking about it. 18k, of course. You can drop a 15k for 1 to pass here, and he's debating on it. He's really, really debating on it. And I want to say, like, it is pretty risky here. We do see, was that a trigger? I don't think it was. So he hit the defensive, so that makes this last attack pretty easy to guard. This is an 18k, so just a 5k will do, but looks like he's debating on discarding the grade 2 Yuika, as we call it, a card that came out in set 2 of Divines that basically says if you have 4 different units on board, it lets you bounce something else at the end of turn. So it's very, very strong. But he did drop the 15k to guard it there, so the Varga player here did the right thing, right? You want to push the first 3 damage as early as possible so that you can be within your divine skill range or the threat of the divine skill, because if your opponent stays at too low damage, you are going to take a while to get there. So Fenelle here, again, we're not seeing any crazy like early aggro or anything, but Fenelle is going to ride up to grade 2, can look at top 7 for up to 2 of the trick and treat order, and there you go, you find 2 more. So even if you play 16 right, the ride line will find you 4. You probably find some from the original, you know, from your initial mulligan as well, and we saw drive check 1 as well, so there's 3 in the drop. 1 was ditched for ride deck turn 1, 1 was ditched for ride deck turn 2, another one was played, and now I'm going to play the 4th one here, and now we see the choice in the rear guard, right? So now they got to choose. What are you going to put back, right? Roxei is so there's basically 3 cards on this board that let you draw a card, And so it's going to put the Ride deck one back. So that one does not draw a card, but it is a 10k, which makes the first grade 3 turn really strong because it makes a 25k column with that Boulder Axe, and that makes it really, really threatening. So here we see the Storageous being played, which is the generic. So Storageous says, when you play her, not from a unit card effect, and if you play an order this turn, which Fenelle does up to 3 times per turn, you can Soul Blast 1 and look at top 5 and call a card from among them. So we're going to see what gets called here. You can also add a card at an order to hand, I believe, if it's the same effect as the old one. Okay, this is a card that I don't know, so I need to look this one up. Okay, so you call the Crispina, which is basically you can CB1 on place to search for the Trick and Treat from deck, which again thins deck, and it also gains plus 5k if you have 3 or more Trick and Treats and drop, and you know, even on turn 1. So that's pretty strong because of course you can use her as a 13k very early, and that potentially means that the Fenelle player, can they tri-lane on turn 1? It seems like they are going to do that. So let's see what the card they're thinking of calling. I think it is that new one, that brand new support card that I mentioned, which is, you know, I called her a generic. Other people said she's a Chris Rain card, but she's not a Chris Rain card. She is a Chris Rain card, but she's also a generic. She's a very, very good card, and I think that definitely Franchette is her name, needs to be respected. So it looks like he's holding it because you have 4 different units on board. Franchette's effect is at the end of, was it end of battle or end of turn? She lets you choose, as long as you have 4 more different named units on board, she lets you bounce one of them back to your hand. So you can keep reusing the Streja every single turn. So it's really, really good. Yeah, it's already 4 different units on board, looking really good. The Fenelle, I believe, is only 10k, if I'm not mistaken. 1 to pass, it's pretty, ooh, gonna eat 2 damage there. I'm not sure, I mean, that hand quality must be pretty bad, which means there's a lot of triggers still in deck, which means that there should have been a defensive there. I'm not sure if that was the right play. Not sure if that was the right play. So the Storage column here is also huge. Varg 4 damage already. What is this? This is supposed to be the other way around. It's supposed to be the other way around, isn't it? So here we see that was a 23k swing, and now there's another 23k swing. All the power from the grade 1s is just going ham here. So we do see the last attack is gonna go through on 5 already. Fenelle, look at this. What is that Varga player's hand? That's crazy. What is happening? Gonna actually ditch the Cycler there, Soul Blast 1 on Ride to draw a card. You're gonna need those cards, man. That hand looks tough. That hand looks tough. Yeah, 28k on turn 2 is crazy because it's like, if you're swinging with 28k, I mean, these were 23k. 28k swings, right? That basically means that, like, you can't guard with a front for 20k shield yet because your opponent's Vanguard's not on grade 3. So at this point, the Varga player is gonna respond by calling a shootout. Normally, you don't really call shootout on turn 3, but you have 5 open counterblasts. You gotta make that comeback. Pray that their hand is full of orders and just run them down. So we see, all right, Boulder Axe swings for 15k. You can't intercept that. I mean, you can intercept it, but it's not enough. You're gonna have to add another 5k shield. Gonna drop the draw for it here instead. And of course, gonna just use that effect to self-retire. Shooter gonna swing in, gonna use the effect, so she will gain a 5k here. So that's gonna be just a 15k. Choosing not... did they boost with her or not? They chose the Roxe as the target to go back to hand, but I don't think that... okay, they are committing the boost. It's gonna be 23, so 15k, and that's a good, I think, the right decision, because if it's a 15k, there's a chance that he drops a 5k and then intercepts, and you want that intercept to remain on board for you to retire with a Varga skill. So Varga's gonna swing in unboosted here, retire the Shura, and then the from Shura being retired, the Roxe will retire himself. He'll go back to hand from Shura's effect, and then the Roxe will draw a card as well. So are we using the Shura here? I think you should. You have 5 open CB and a bunch of heals in deck, and I think that right now it is a good place to put some triggers on. 2 blanks. That's not what you want. There's gonna be a driveless swing, gonna just give the damage, and then of course use the grade 1 there, soul blasting 1 and drawing a card. So was the Varga player able to rebuild a hand, or is it just Jover? Honestly, I'm a little bit worried because to me, this is looking a little... wow, this playback speed is normal. For a second I was like, am I watching this on 1.5 times? But yeah, I feel like the shootout should have been used there just to potentially push for CB. Oh yeah, true, the Franchette didn't get retired. That is also kind of weird. The Franchette was not this... I hope a judge on stream caught that. This should be retired by the Varga effect. So very important. Varga retires both players' front row, not just your own. All right, this is the trick and treat. Draws a card from it. So now that you're in grade 3 Fenelle, you can play 3 of the order. So the second time you play it, you get to draw 1, countercharge 1, and then if you play it a third time, you then also get the bonus effect too. So when you play it 3 times, you get to revive a card from drop as well. So yeah, so what's funny is that Franchette should be gone, but technically they can revive it from the third. So even if she was dead, you can revive it from the third one. So I think this kind of like the shame. I think some of the Singapore WGP streams, I feel like we always have a forgotten, like some small thing that the judges don't notice. It feels like it happens every time. So I do wish there was a bit more attention paid, but we're gonna use the grade 1 here again to search the trick and treat. So now it's like you got to think about how much deck thinning there's been, right? If this list is running this many, like the 16 orders, right? We've already gotten 7 of them in drop, and then there's the 8th one. So that's going to be able to revive something. Will he just overcall the Franchette? No. Gonna call the PG. And I really do wish, yeah, this was like round 6 or 7. So it's pretty late into the tournament and probably just genuine mistake. I mean, just like a genuine like foresight kind of thing. But, you know, still not taking away from the fact that, yeah, you can bounce this PG too, which is pretty crazy. So what happens here is that Fenelle does have an on-attack skill where she lets you target another rear and herself and give them an extra crit. And then after that, for every order that you have, the trick and treat order in your drop, you get plus 2k to front row. So you see here, 2 attackers get the extra crit, and now we have, what is it? It looks like 9 orders. Is it 9? I think it's 8. It's 8, so plus 16k to front row. All right, they're preparing the power counters, the judges. At least they're quick on the power counter game. So there you go, plus 16k to the front row. We have a pretty big hand on the Varga side, but these numbers are actually pretty annoying. So what's really cool is that the Franchette there is going to be able to bounce that PG back to hand at the end of her attack, which is really huge because you have 4 more different cards on the field. It's easy. Herself, the Vanguard, another rear guard, and another rear guard. Right? It's not that hard to achieve. We see the effect, heal, and the defensing roar here. First check, blank. Second check, also blank. The deck has been pretty compressed, but there's still quite a lot of rear guards. It's only compressed from the orders. So then let's take a look at this next swing. This is going to be so this can actually gain another 10k. The Drajeweled does have her own skill to CB 1, draw 1, and gain 10k, which is pretty huge. So she's solo swinging for 20, 35, well, I guess plus 1, 36. You've got what, 44, 49. Huh, these numbers are crazy. Did the Varga player bounce the heal? Did they? Okay, they did. Okay, that's good. They did. Dude, this number is crazy. Well, this is not even Persona, right? She's 10, 18, 23. We got 33, 49, 49k without Persona, with crit too. These numbers are insane. And this is still swinging for lethal damage too. She gets her own plus 5k there too. Bounces the PG on attack. That's insane. So you got 18, 23, 28. Uh-oh. 33, 43, 44, I want to say. I think this is 44 for 1 damage. This doesn't have an extra crit on it. We do see a PG in hand, so the Varga player is still alive. This deck only does 3 attacks, so at least, you know, perfect cards are pretty effective. But for the Varga player, this has to be a big comeback turn, but we know that there's a PG back to hand for the Fenelle player. So at the end of the day, this is a pretty big turn for the Fenelle player farmed a lot. They don't really need much because they countercharge from their orders, and the power only gets bigger the more orders they play. It really feels like Gravidia back in a very interesting form. So let's see how the Varga player is going to make a comeback. Do they have Persona right first and foremost? They do. Wow, multiple secrets as well. This player's got that big investment. All right, so this time, Varga player, don't forget to retire your opponent's front row. Very, very important part of Varga's effect. All right, Obdurate Glaive is a strong card and gonna use the Guncycler to Energy Blast 3 and revive a grade 1. So of course this one does have the effect that when you guard with it or ditch it for ride deck, you can Energy Blast 3 to draw a card, but you can also, on call if you Persona Road, revive a grade 1. And of course this deck has a lot of really powerful grade 1s. So it's really good, we like to use that. Gonna call the Rokusei to seal the intercepts, very important here. And so we're gonna just swing in first with that 28k power. So of course asking for at least a front in defense. Oh, you can't intercept. No, no, no. Roxy is gonna block that. Gonna have to drop that 5k drive checked. So that's good. So now Varga's gonna swing. Varga on attack will retire your own front row. And don't forget to retire your opponent's front row as well. Why is the front row not disappearing? Come on. Why is the front row still there? The effect. The Varga effect. Don't forget to retire your opponent's front row. It doesn't just retire your own. Come on. You have 2 secret rares. You can read the Man, please tell me the Fenelle player realizes. Isn't it technically legal game state? Yes. Yes. Come on. Surely. Is this Fenelle's secret ability? Is this her hockey? You know, ignoring that, the Varga player will get the stand here. You will get... Okay, no guard. That's pretty huge. Roxy. Oh, 2 blanks. Gonna take the 1 damage. It's a blank. Now in divine skill range, Varga will definitely use the divine skill here. But this means that the Fenelle player can take this damage basically like without risking anything. So they can take the 1. This is a huge swing too. Oh, there we go. Finally. Finally. The front row's gone. The front row's gone. So this is a 48k swing for 1 damage that, you know, people always take this one. It's like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. Gets a draw. Gets to go up as well. So draws a card from the booster that was revived. And now going to use the divine skill. Standing with a 33k swing with twin drive. So now it's easy to guard, right? Because of course you're 23, but still gonna drop the PG here. Let's see. Dude, this Varga player finally checks a trigger. I feel like they've been checking dry the entire game. So this Obdurisi Glaive is going to be swinging for, has 33k base, so 43k with 2 crit, asks for 25k shield. Gonna force out a PG, dropping a crit. So the hand quality for Fenelle not as great as I thought. That was actually perhaps, you know, the PGs basically let them survive. I don't think they have only 3 cards left in hand. It does have the Persona though, so that's going to be pretty huge for the Fenelle player. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, you know, I think I have obviously the game audio muted, but I think they were laughing about the forgetting to retire. So it's not, you know, it's the players are tired after many long rounds. But again, when you're sitting at the top table, especially the future match, you know, you want to make sure that the effects are processed properly. And of course, for the judges too, a reminder to make sure that everything's going smoothly too. No effects are forgotten. So we see the grade 1, 3 of the grade 1 in the back, filtering out the deck from those trick and treats. Gonna be able to use it. So here we're gonna get to bot deck a rear. Gonna use the Storeja here to Soul Blast 1. And again, thin the deck some more. We already see another trick and treat there. 3 more cards. It looks like mostly triggers. Gonna take a trick and treat. That's gonna get added to hand. It's gonna be the second one. That'll let you get the counter charge and the extra draw card as well. So overall, like you can see the game state is progressing really well for the Fenelle player. They've been able to control the pace of the game pretty well. Again, things probably would have looked different if they didn't have another copy of the Bouncer. But this is definitely a pretty strong showing from Fenelle so far. So now you play that second trick and treat, counter charge 1 and draw 1. And then if you draw into a third order, you get to revive your Bouncer. And I think they did. I do think they drew into the third one off the top there. That lets you revive the Bouncer. And you can just bounce one of your other rear guards back to your hand, which is the Franchette doing work. Gonna play the third one. I'm assuming it's Franchette for the revival. Unless you want to really burn through all your CB and call another Storeja. Now it's gonna be the Franchette. She gets a 5k on her own too, so in terms of power, she's pretty good. This Varga player is not healed at all game. They've not seen many triggers, so I wouldn't be surprised if they actually 6 damage heal and extend this game a little bit. So I think for the Fenelle player, luckily Fennelle's a 3 attack deck where 2 attacks have an extra crit on them, and they're swinging for huge. So I think if you're the Varga player, you kind of want to try to guard this and then eat. Obviously, eat the 1 crit swing would be better, but if you have to eat both rear guard swings, risking your opponent checking another crit on a pretty compressed deck is a little risky here. So you got 23k from Persona alone, 31, 36, 38, 48, 58, 58k Vanguard swing, just out of nowhere. This would need, yeah, if you're eating this, you're gonna need to see 2 heals on defense, or heal OT or something to shut down the rest of the turn. But there's still, I'm pretty sure, OT in deck for both players, so things could still get pretty crazy here. But with how little triggers we've seen from the Varga player, I have high hopes on seeing something here. We're getting the number explanation. These power counters really help, by the way, so shout out to the stream setup overall. Beautiful playmats. Oh, we do see the PG come down. Damn, the deluxe PG too. This deck is built different, quite literally. Ooh, checks 2 orders. If the Varga player has another PG in hand, they can actually PG this one, take the 1 crit swing. So this is, let me pause and think about this number real quick. This is huge, right? We got, so this is 18k base, 23k, 33 already just from Persona. So 33, this plus 2 makes it a 35, 45, 65k 2 crit. Drop the Persona for PG, which means that hand quality is pretty dire. 65k rear 2 crit just out here. Oh, we are counting. So is there a way to, nope, just gonna take it. Realizes there's no way and doesn't see the defensives. Where were they? Doesn't see any triggers. Fenelle takes it. Fenelle showing up as a very powerful deck in WGP Singapore. And for those of you curious about a deck list, good channel friend Neko Kuro here. So Remy, he actually went 20th out of 512 players at WGP Singapore. So you can see here, he had a pretty good record, losing to Blangdmire, going second once, and Drajeweled lost once as well, making a mistake in self-counting. So for those of you that want to see a list, this is what it looks like. It's pretty straightforward. Only 2 copies of Persona is pretty surprising, but you got your 4 Storejas, 4 of the Trick and Treat Searcher / 13k grade 1, that of course that 13k was really important in the early game, 4 of the Bouncer, the grade 2 Yuika as I call her, red OT, we got the draws, 4 counter heals, 8 crit, and then how many orders we're playing in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 Trick and Treat orders as well. So yeah, I guess when you have this much power from the Vanguard, Persona Ride doesn't matter as much unless you need that soul, but you know, the only card that uses the soul in this deck is the Storeja, so you don't really need it that much either. So overall, this is a deck that definitely showed up and did very well. So you have Kuro, Zerin, as well as only Tamayura. It sounds like all 3 of them went 7-2 with the Fenelle. So you can see here that he actually ran max copies of the grade 3, but we're not seeing, you actually see more order count here as well. So there's no Regulus in this list. So there's no Regulus Cup in this list. So basically the same amount being run in the list. I believe this one was the one that was featured on the stream itself. Damn, they actually lost the Winnin too. So they beat Varga in the previous round and they had their Winnin against Eva, and sadly they were X1 until the last round of Swiss. So definitely a crazy run. And then only Tamayura, so they already had some good runs, but they were 18th with the Fenelle 2. So 3 players going X2, sadly bubbling out of Swiss. If this was Japan, they would have made it in with Diversity Cut, that's for sure. But hopefully that gives you a list and idea of how to run the deck too. And hopefully, you know, I enjoy featuring these slightly lower tier but high potential decks on the channel as well. We're gonna watch some more WGP Singapore games and other videos, including the finals and some other surprise decks that showed up too. But if you enjoyed this one, make sure to give it a like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe. If you want to learn how to play some other decks, you can join my YouTube channel membership, where I do POV first-person perspective fights now with even more editing and beautiful camera quality for you to check out as well. So consider becoming a YouTube channel member and supporting the channel directly. But otherwise, that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.